This is Tokyo Real. I'm Ian Simpson, and with me on the show today I have Scott Townsend, who is the founder of Stop, Drop and Breathe. Scott, welcome to Tokyo Real.
Thanks for having me.
It looks very beautiful where you are there. Where exactly are you?
So I'm in the middle of nowhere in New Zealand, quite close to a little beach town called Raglan, in the Waitatuna Valley. Yeah.
Yeah, Raglan. I know Raglan because I'm a surfer. I hear there's very good waves there. Yeah? Bit of a surfing area.
Yeah, so it's our popular surf spot in New Zealand. You get people coming around all around the world to just go for a surf. And we've got a real famous left-hand point break, which a lot of surfers idolise and drool over, and quite excited to come have a ride on.
Yeah, that would be nice for me. Yeah, a nice left-hander. Great. Okay. So, Stop, Drop and Breathe. Tell me, what exactly is Stop, Drop and Breathe, Scott?
Sure. So at its core, at the most simplest version of it, it's a social safety message. As kids, most people are taught, or most English speakers are taught, that if you catch on fire outside, to stop, drop and roll to put the fire out. So stop, drop and breathe is what you do when you catch on fire inside. You know, fire inside being strong emotions, too many thoughts, you just feel stuck. And because we feel that, it feels like fire inside. Stop what you're doing, drop into this moment, and take a big, deep breath. So at its core, it's a simple social safety message, but it's not just for people that are burning down.
No.
It's not just for people that are suffering from anxiety or depression or whatever it is, but also for people that just want to be more present in everyday life. Like they reckon the average person thinks about 70,000 thoughts a day. I don't know how they measure that, but if we do the math, it's safe to say that most people are living in a world of thought. So when you're stuck in the past or living in the future, stop whatever you're doing, drop, and take a big, deep breath. So that's it at its core, and they reckon the average attention span of people has dropped from 8 seconds to 6 seconds. So what I encourage people to do is just take 5 seconds to begin with, and take one big breath, fully in through the nose and out through the mouth. So should we do that? Because it's a paradox about talking about breathing. It's something that you've really got to feel.
Okay.
So for you and any people watching, take 5 seconds. Big deep breath in through the nose, and then just out through the mouth. Let's go. Fully in. And let it go. Yeah, so I encourage people to take 5 seconds to take one breath, or take 5 breaths, or even better, take 5 minutes to simply stop and focus on your breathing.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, I've been doing a bit of a meditation and breathing over the last 12 months or so, and for many years I've been doing centering before I do a sports contest or whatever. Now that involves breathing in, and as you breathe in, you basically inflate the stomach. Should I be doing that as well? So as I breathe in through my nose, my stomach comes out. Is that part of it, or is it just breathe in through the nose and breathe out anyway?
Yeah, sure. So there's lots of different ways that you can breathe. The first thing I say to people is look, you're your best teacher. Feeling is experience. So experiment and see what feels right to you. But the place that I'll first tell people to start breathing is into your diaphragm, or into the stomach there. So your diaphragm, you'll push in between here, you'll feel it, just beneath your ribs.
Yes.
And if you press firmly into there, so you can feel it, I encourage people to start breathing into that place. So deep into the diaphragm, fully in, and then you're letting go. So there are lots of different places that you can breathe into. The heart's another good one. You put your hand on your heart and you breathe into that. Especially while thinking of something that you're grateful for, or something that makes you happy, because science will tell us if you're breathing into your heart while focusing on something that you like and you've got an attitude of gratitude, it also helps to kind of light up your I'm really bad with saying this, but parasympathetic nervous system I'm obviously not a doctor,
Okay, I won't
but
repeat it.
it kind of lights us up in a positive way. So I try and keep things as simple as possible, which is just look to stop what you're doing, drop into this moment, drop into your body, drop into the feeling, and breathe. But then we can break it down further and further and further, and start looking at all the science and all the things like that. But quite simply, my most basic message for people is to just stop and focus on the breathing for a little bit. Sorry,
So I was going to say, because it doesn't just that simple breathing exercise can actually relax you incredibly, doesn't it? Just by breathing in through the nose and breathing out, it does sort of center you, focus you. But most people don't do it, do they?
No, that's right. Now, most people kind of breathe into their heads, or like breathe into their chest, and then, they wonder why they're stuck in a world of thought all day, is because they've got really, really shallow breathing. And just the effect that shallow breathing has on the body. Dr. Alan Watkins, I think it is, his studies show that if people have a slow, even, deep flow of breathing, kind of think of it like a circle, so you're breathing in and out. So if we get this deep, slow breathing flow going on, it's even, even in, even out, then that will change our heart rate.
Yes.
So our heart rate, got a bit of paper here, will normally look, really bad example, but it will look something like that, kind of like a Richter scale. It's all over the place, and you might have 60 beats per minute, but it's all over the place, and it's not really a real average, because up here it might be 90 beats a minute, down here it might be 30 or 40 or whatever. So they've shown and proven that with a slow, deep, even flow, that it will change your heart rate from this into a perfect wave.
Right.
Okay. Beneath it. So just from controlling our breath, it changes our physiology. It's your breath responds to your life, and your life responds to your breath. So if people can, be conscious of the breath whenever they can, start taking control of that, kind of starts putting your body back in alignment or whatever, and it's
And mindfulness is very much a trendy term at the moment, isn't it? Is it? You did mention that it's sort of related to being present, which is sort of what mindfulness is. Am I right?
Spot on. So this is what I really love about Stop, Drop and Breathe. Just the words is that, most people are open to meditation these days. You say meditation, they're a bit more open to it, and they're like, yeah, I could probably benefit from what meditation has to offer if only I knew what it was. But it's really hard for people to understand something like meditation just because they don't have the experience to take it and internalize it. So for a lot of people, the knowledge gap is too big. That's a big scary word. Don't know what it means, and I don't have any silly pants to wear, or whatever it is. So people start, so mindfulness, it's a little bit softer. People are more open to that, but it's still quite a big word. And that's what I love about Stop, Drop, and Breathe. Is we're just saying breathing.
Yes. Yeah.
It's natural.
Very simple.
Very simple. And most people were taught as kids to stop, drop, and roll. So it's just a play on words like that: outside fire, inside fire. And so it's using language that people already have within them to make sense of what might otherwise be an abstract concept. So let's go back to meditation. There's lots of different kinds of meditation. Focusing on your breathing is one of them. Body awareness, listening to sounds, visualizations, all of this kind of stuff. So it's really just meditation in disguise, or it's simply just breathing, whatever way you want to look at it.
Right. So, as you know now, I'm in Japan, and but for most of my life I lived in the UK. And while I was in the UK, I always seemed to have terrible road rage, as do most people in the UK. The amount of times, we've been beeping each other and giving people the birdie and getting out of the car and squaring. it's embarrassingly scary, really, to be honest. So, I mean, I've sort of conquered that now in Japan because people don't actually give you eye contact, so there's less confrontation, and I've calmed down. But in that situation of that road rage, when you both stop your car, you both get out on the side of the road, and you're squaring up to each other, can you use what stop, drop, and breathe in that situation then?
Completely, completely. So hopefully it's a little trigger that goes off in your mind before you get out of the car. So something happens, some stimuli happens, or something in your environment happens that triggers a response from you. Or let's say more of a reaction than a response. So something happens, we react.
Right.
So, in that moment, someone cuts you off and you feel that anger, you feel that rise up in you, then, if your mind can tell yourself just stop, drop, and breathe, and just stop and take one or two big breaths, five's even better. But then, it's not going to make your problem go away. It's, that guy still cuts you off, he's still a dick, or whatever. But it gives you some space to be able to react to the problem a little bit differently, or, the challenge. So instead of just reacting straight away, something's happened, you've created a little bit of space within yourself, and then you've now got the option to respond to the situation, rather than react.
Yes.
Yeah,
absolutely. I can see the benefit of it, because it's that initial instant flare up that causes the problem, isn't it? So if you can sort of counteract it and be a bit more present and focus, and then deal with the situation a little better.
Well, that's right. And sometimes those things have just got momentum. Like something happens, your emotions kick in, and emotions are much below the level of thought. So we'll have a feeling, and then our brain will try and come up with, a reason of why we feel the way that we do. But something happens, and there's, there's motion. That's why they call it emotion, because there's emotion in it. So sometimes something happens, and we just respond habitually, or respond's not the right word, but we react without kind of thinking, without reason, because there's motion behind the emotion. And, so sometimes there's that train's already left, it's just happened, But, if we can tell ourselves in the moment where things are getting heated, just breathe.
Right, yeah.
And, for example, in the military, I've never been in the military, but in the military, they'll teach people tactical breathing. So when you're getting shot at, to, keep yourself cool, keep yourself, breathing and all that kind of stuff. So then you've got a little bit more space and a little bit more clarity on how you should respond to your environment rather than just creating knee-jerk reactions.
Right, okay. So that's basically a flare-up type situation, but also stop, drop, and breathe is not only for flare-up situations, is it? You use it for other kinds of people. What kinds of people is it beneficial to?
Sure. So, it would have been a couple of weeks ago now, I was talking to a corporate executive, CEO kind of guy, and I said to him my typical tagline, which is, as kids, we're taught to stop, drop, and roll. We teach you to stop, drop, and breathe when you catch on fire. And he's like, I get it. I'm like, yeah, it's also really good just for adding more presence to your life. And he's like, well, I could see how I can use this when I'm with my daughter to actually spend more time with her. Because he's a corporate executive, he's always busy, he's always got the business on the mind. And when he's with his family, he's there, but he's not really present because he's still, in the world of work. But whereas if he's sitting with his family, he can stop for a minute, he can drop, look around, acknowledge where he is, he's not at work, he's with his family, with people that, care about him, and, and into his breathing for that. So, and then I finished talking to the corporate executive, and 10 minutes later, I was talking to, like, a real rough Maori guy. So, Maori or Māori, if I'm to say it correctly, they are our indigenous culture here in New Zealand.
Yes.
So I was, talking with this real rough Maori guy. He had more tattoos than me, which is, never a good sign. And and he was telling me, he's like, yeah, these people come into work and they tell us to talk about our feelings and be mindfulness, and in his words, exactly, fuck that, and, you know, more profanities, and quite a rough kind of guy, like the kind of guy that you'd probably cross the street if you've seen him, you know.
Yeah.
And then, you know, I said, oh, come on, let's just try this breathing with me. I told him, I said, it's like a free buzz, you know, it's like a free buzz, it's like a free natural high. So here's us, we took a couple of breaths together, and his face lights up and he sees it and feels it straight away. And he's like, yeah, man. He's like, yeah. He's like, I don't like these guys at work that tell us what to do, but you get it, eh? He's like, I like you, and I like this message. And then he was going to go home and tell it to his kids. So, you know, so for him, it was a way to feel something. It was a way to kind of get a euphoria, so to speak. That's what he liked about it in the moment that I spoke to him. And before that, I was speaking with a corporate executive. And for him, he's like, okay, I know my time is short. I need to value my family more. And this is a simple little tool in which I can use this. But people use it in all different kinds of ways. You know, some of the feedback I got the other day, which was before, you know, a girl went into an evaluation or an employment review. You know, she was anxious about it because this is her job. What are they going to say about me? This kind of thing. And she focused on her breathing for a couple of minutes. She reckons helped her out a lot. My friend's quite a social guy, you know, man of the party, that kind of thing. And rightfully so. He's hilarious. But for him, he would stop and he'd focus on his breathing before he'd go out for a social event. And he reckons it's just a good way to feel grounded, let whatever's happened so far of the day go, and, you know, focus more on what's going on in this moment. So yeah, like there's not a guy called Andy Edgecombe, I think his last name was, gave me some great feedback, and he's like, I can't think of one person that this wouldn't help, because we all breathe.
Yes, yeah.
We all breathe, but there's different reasons why people might want to focus on their breathing.
Right, and we all have busy minds, don't we? And increasingly more busy all the time, with stress and whatnot. Though, actually, I was going to talk about those. So people with illness, like long-term illness, such as anxiety, stress, or even cancer or long-term sickness, it's useful for those kind of people also, yes?
Yeah, so some of the benefits that we know of focused breathing, it does improve your health, your cardiovascular, your immune system, and your nervous system. It does reduce your stress and anxiety, better sleep, boosted happiness, increased athletic performance, all this kind of stuff.
Yes.
You know, this isn't studies that I've done myself or anything like that, but, you know, it's well known in the scientific community. In terms of specific things like cancers and respiratory problems and all of that, I know that there are a lot of success with particular breathing methods and illnesses and things like that, but I'm not confident enough to, you know, paraphrase this study or that study at this stage. But the Centre of Disease Control said that 80% of all doctors' visits are stress-related. Right. You know, and a lot of that stress is when we're not breathing correctly. You know, we're kind of living in that fight or flight mode, you know, of the animal brain, and which is producing more of your body's cortisol, the stress hormone, and more adrenaline. You know, because like your brain doesn't know the difference between you know, like a real event and a fictionary event. So, you know, whether, you know, you're telling yourself there's a tiger, you know, in your brain, or there's an actual tiger, your brain doesn't know the difference. So either way, it produces these stress hormones and all this kind of stuff. So, you know, so when people are in that state of constant stress and constant anxiety, their body is constantly producing these hormones and all of that, you know, which does have a real negative side effect. I was actually listening to an interview with Wim Hof recently, and he was talking much more about the science behind what happens and how does breathing help to change the chemistry and all of that. And I for anyone who you know, take a step back, I like to come and I like to keep things as simple as possible. Let's just breathe. Let's just focus on that. But for people that do want to take it a step further, who want to get right into it, I definitely recommend them checking out Wim Hof. So he is kind of at the forefront at the moment of breathing and science. He's got universities all around the world that are studying him, and like in terms of the specifics, he's the person that I look to and am inspired by.
Absolutely, and I've been. We talk a lot about Wim Hof on Tokyo Reel, and I've been doing his program as well because I surf. But it's particularly
You've been doing his course.
Yeah, yes, the basic course, yeah. And it's particularly relevant for me as a surfer because I want to be able to hold my breath for longer underwater. So it's a survival reason that but it's as well as the calming reason. But I think it's wonderful stuff, And also on Tokyo Reel a few months ago, we had Andy Puddicombe, the founder of Headspace, which is taking the world by storm at the moment as well. And he was, talking very similar things to yourself about mindfulness and being present. And he was also saying that he goes out now to a lot of other institutions and places and tries to promote this. Do you do the same, for example, going out to schools or prisons, other kinds of institutions? Do you believe it can benefit them?
Sure. So, firstly, I did listen to that interview with Andy and you. That was a really great interview. Well done for that.
Thank you.
And so that was cool. And I'm also a really big fan of Andy in terms of the meditation space and the things that they're doing with Headspace there. Those guys are doing great things. So for me, no, I haven't got to that stage yet where I've been, going to go and work with organisations. The Stop, Drop and Breathe has been a project of mine for about 2 years. And so over the last 2 years, I've taught simple concepts and methods to hundreds of people that have come through my house here, because my house here is also a small backpackers or bed and breakfast. And then in August this year, teamed up with my senior breather, Kev, as I call him, and we've now set Stop, Drop and Breathe up as a not-for-profit charity. And now going forward, our intention is to develop a simple resource called Take 5. So it's a simple resource and training manual that anyone can be the teacher or the student of. So in to help us develop this, we're going to be working quite closely with different organisations. So them being schools, and for example of we're getting an in with the university at the moment. So we're already making some progress towards this. But we're developing this resource and going to work more closely with schools, workplaces, and prisons and that. So we can just develop a simple resource that anyone can pick up and be the teacher or the student of. So we want to create this resource and then freely offer it to the world. So anybody can come in, pick it up, and be able to explain and walk and breathe people through these concepts. So then, people are equipped with a simple set of tools, just keep themselves together whenever they feel like road raging or whenever they want to be more present with their loved ones.
I worked as a high school teacher in some tough high schools in Australia and Wales, England, for 20 years or more. So I would have loved to have known these methods that I could use with some of these kids who gave me a lot of trouble, and help them, because a lot of kids in high schools now and junior high schools have a lot of problems and a lot of anger problems. So I can really see the benefit of it as a teacher. I wish I'd had those skills when I was teaching. So,
yeah, and it's real simple. Like I can run you over a couple now if you'd like.
Yeah, go ahead. Please go ahead.
Yeah, sure. So, like I kind of said before, it's a little bit of a paradox to talk about breathing. It's something that people have really got to feel, because you can intellectually understand it, but until you feel it, you don't know. Prime example, someone that knows all about sex, but they've never had sex. So it's something you've really got to feel to know about. Yeah, yeah. So I always start by just getting people to take one breath. Right. Take a breath in for 5 seconds. Fully in, and letting go. And then they'll feel something. They'll go, wow, And I'll say, okay, so now let's put our hand on our diaphragm. And now let's take 5 breaths. Fully in through the nose and out through the mouth. 4 more. Fully in through the nose. Let it go through the mouth. 3 more. Fully in. Then go. Last one, fully in. And letting go. So by now, people have felt it a little bit more. You know, they're now a little bit more engaged.
There's definitely a chemical change, isn't there? You know, the oxygen has some effect, and you feel relaxed and calmed. If I fall asleep, just click your fingers, wake me up. Because I'm relaxed.
Yeah, sorry, and I got slightly distracted by my dogs. I've got 2 big wolves. Excuse me, Daisy. Can you please go sort out that?
No worries. Okay.
So back to it. So
yeah.
So for anyone, you know, who wants to even just explain these simple concepts to people, we take 1 breath. We feel it, we take 5 breaths. And then we teach some simple breathing shapes, right, which I call the circle, the square, and the triangle.
Okay.
So we're going to breathe in for the count of 5 and out for the count of 5. So it's like a circle. So you breathe in, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to the top, and then out for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So should we do that?
Yeah.
Do that once or twice?
Gotcha.
Yep. So the in for 5. And then out for 5. In for 5. And out for 5. Cool. And so the triangle, same thing for the count of 5, but we start on the exhale. So fully in. And then out for 5. And then in for 5. And then hold for 5.
Okay, so out, in, out, hold.
Kind of, yeah. So we start on the exhale.
Start on the exhale, yeah.
Yeah, so we exhale for 5, then we inhale for 5, and then we hold for 5.
Okay, right, got you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the triangle, I like to think of that one. It's really good when you need confidence. You know, when you need to feel on top of the world. You know, triangle's quite a strong shape. And then lastly, the square or the box. You know, which is in for 5, hold for 5, out for 5, and then hold for 5. So these are simple breathing shapes that people can focus on anywhere, anytime. You know, the counting really helps people's mind focus.
Yes.
And then for other people, the shapes, the visual also helps people because people's brains work in different ways. So the simple little training manual that we're working on has got stuff like this. Really, really simple, really, really straightforward. And then I'm going to put it out there. It's free for anyone to use, distribute, teach, whatever. You know, just try and get this message to as many people as possible. And you know, it's been my strong belief for over 2 years since I came up with this idea that Stop, Drop and Breathe is something that could help a lot of people just because the language is really accessible. People that wouldn't otherwise go knocking on the door of meditation or mindfulness because it's too abstract for them. It's not their cup of tea. You know, I'm living in the real world here. What are you on about? So I've always had this belief that it could help a lot of people, especially those kind of people that wouldn't otherwise be open to this. And since, you know, I've been doing the work, I've kind of proved these assumptions that it makes it really, really easy for people to understand and get the essence of it.
Absolutely. I think meditation, unfortunately, it's becoming more acceptable, but it is associated with some negative things. I've got to be careful how I say this, but such as religion or sitting cross-legged or having the right trousers or incense sticks, and boom, that just puts people off you. So nowadays people like yourself and Andy are giving it a much better image of being present, being mindful, and you can call it what you want. It's the same thing, but it's just delivered in a much better way these days, I think, isn't it? And the way you're delivering it is great, I think. Yeah, stop, drop, and breathe, because we all get it. It's so simple.
Yeah, and that's one of my core values with it. With it is simple,
Right.
And like I guess these teachings, they've always been there throughout the ages, and it's never about who the teacher is, but it's always about who the student is. What's the most relatable form of communication that this message can be conveyed in? And so for like you said, a lot of people these days say meditation or mindfulness, and for whatever reason they've got a negative association with it. Kind of like sharks,
Yeah.
Don't go swimming in the ocean because there's sharks in there. When sharks kill about 10 people a year, and cows kill 100 people a year from standing on them. So it's just these kind of negative associations that people have. But it then does kind of put them off, or they might not open that door. It might not be until later. So just making things as relatable as possible to people.
Simple.
And
yeah, and that's why I like the breathing we just did, because because in particular the counting is fine. That helps because it helps you to focus. But the shapes are even more helpful. You combine the two, because your mind tends to wander if you're just counting. But when you're visualizing the shape, before you taught me that today, I used to visualize the number. So I would draw the number 3 as I was breathing. But often I couldn't get the timing right because of all the figures in the number 8 and the number 3. So it worked, but I like the shapes better because you can actually go along straight lines or circles and combine the two. And it does help you to focus and stops your mind going off in left and right directions. So, but it's simple, isn't it?
Yeah, really simple.
Yeah,
and that's it, simple.
And kids can get it.
And that's something I encourage. Oops. Sorry, we lagged out a little bit there, and I talked over here.
You go ahead.
But that's something I encourage people to do. Cut some breathing shapes whenever you can. Whether you got 5 minutes to sit there and do it, or 5 seconds, or 5 breaths. But it's something that people can do, while you're driving in the car, or like as you're doing other activities. Cut some shapes, experiment with it, play with it, because it's meant to be fun. See, that's the other thing, is we've got this idea that, meditation is real serious. It's meant to be a playful exploration, of yourself, of your observations, that kind of thing. Because it's like the more serious people take it, I think almost the more struggle that people can have. And I know that's true of my own experience, When you take things all serious, it's not until you lighten up, in some way. So, a breathing practice, a mindfulness practice, a meditation practice, it's meant to be fun. It's meant to be playful. But it's not to say it's going to be fun all the time. Like I read something the other day, and, some statistics from somewhere, and it's like 20% of people have a negative effect when they meditate, And that's because sometimes it just makes people aware of how they're actually feeling. It gives you space to look within yourself and go, shit, I'm not happy, or this is something that's bothering me, or it brings it to the surface. And so often people are trying to run away from that fire. They're trying to run away from that fire within them. They're trying to cover it up. They don't want to face it. Whereas stopping, dropping, and focusing on your breathing, it makes you confront that.
Yes.
So for a lot of people to begin with, it's good. But then it can also be challenging for some people because they've really got to be honest with themselves. They've really got to kind of observe the happenings in them, and for some people that can be uncomfortable. But that's where real growth or personal development growth happens, is when you go through discomfort, when you face fear, when you go through that. As they say, life begins at the end of your comfort zone, or something like that. So for anyone out there who's starting with breathing or with meditation, with that, it's a good thing. It's meant to be playful. It's meant to be fun. But like anything, what goes up must come down. And for a lot of people, there is also that uncomfortableness that can come along with it, which is perfectly fine. It's a breathing practice, not a perfect.
So play with it, yeah. Actually, I've started putting these little stickies around my office and my house that say "Be present." So every now and then, when I'm walking around the house or in my workplace, I see this sticky, and it reminds me, oh yes, be present,
Mm-hmm.
bring yourself back in, focus on what's around you and who you are, and it does help, simple little things. So
That's really good, and that's kind of training that habitual mind, because we live in our environment, we do everything the same way day in, day out, and to create new patterns can be tough. So that sticky is perfect. That's a great idea. And so, for example, I've got a fundraiser going at the moment to help Stop, Drop and Breathe, help us develop this resource and that kind of thing, because so far for the last 2 years everything's been funded from me. But I've got these little stickers, and they're little 1-inch round stickers, and they've just got 3 hexagons in them, 2 white ones and a blue one, which is kind of a spin-off of our logo. And so the idea is, for $25, people can buy 25 of these little non-evasive stickers, and they can stick them to places in their most, stick them to their most frequently visited places, in your house or in your work or in your car or on your phone or whatever, so that when when you see one of these stickers, stop, drop, take a breath, be present, and it also helps to create these new patterns and these new these new positive ways of being. Because like for everyone who's wanted to try a new diet, or tomorrow's the day, this is all happening, and we've got a bit of enthusiasm, but 5 days later we're off the train, and we're back to square one. It's because we've got to get these habits working. So for a lot of people, they might have some unhealthy habits in their life, and it's taken them a long time to form these unhealthy habits. They've got to be dedicated to form these habits that they have. And the same goes with positive habits, such as breathing or meditation. It's just you do it, you do it whenever you can, so whenever you can remind yourself, or whenever you can be aware of your breathing, just drop into the feeling, take a big deep breath, and some little stickers around the place can definitely help with that,
Yes,
and
got to become a part of your life, a daily routine, a habit, isn't it? That's yeah. I mean, I love it. I love it.
If people want it to be like I'm not sitting here saying you breathe, because but if it feels right for people, like I say to people, look, you're your best teacher. Feeling is experience. You know yourself better than anyone. You know what feels right and what doesn't. Be open, try some stuff. If it feels right, roll with it. If it doesn't, discard it. But I think from my observations, I think there's a lot of people that could benefit from just focusing on their breathing. Yeah.
And you obviously you're trying hard to spread the message. You've got this crowdfunding project going now. How can people get onto that and start donating some money to help you?
Yeah, sure. So thank you. So we've got a crowdfunding campaign that's set up on Generosity. The link is, well, I've got a short URL. That's the best one to use, and we can put a link under the video here.
Yep.
But it is bit.ly /JB cool COOL.
Okay, well, I'll get that put up and
yeah. So we are looking to raise a little bit of money, just to help. We've set it up as a non-for-profit organisation now, so everything we do financially and everything's transparent. We're in it for the good of the people, not the good of the money. But these things do, require a lot of energy and attention, and the world that we live in, money makes the world go round. And it has been something that's been funded, purely by myself for the last 2 years, and I haven't been paid anything for it. It's not that I need money to do it, but it would be good if it could start to support itself.
Absolutely.
And the more support that we can get, the more people that we can help.
Yeah, the bigger we can grow. Helping people, isn't it? I mean, and you're in it for the right reason, but we all understand that anything takes money to do it properly. You do need some money, so we get it. Yeah, and so we'll be pushing people towards the crowdfunding and Stop, Drop and Breathe and what you're promoting, because I think it's a wonderful cause, and I love it because it's simple, and I love the way you project it and put it out there. So on Tokyo Reel, we'll do what we
And
can to support you, you know, so it's good.
Fabulous, thank you, Ian.
Yeah.
And everything that we do it's going to be freely available to the public. Like all of our methods, all of our resources, all of that. It's going to be free for people because it's kind of one of my personal, I guess, conflicts is that I really believe that these simple tools that allow for self-control and self-development, they should be free and easily accessible. So, like, you know, and then that's why we set it up as a charity, as a non-for-profit. Is that so? You know, from day one, it's an organized Stop, Drop, and Breathe is an organization that's in service to people to give them some free information, to give them some free tools, and you know, so they can just be cool, really, just keep their cool.
That's sort of your tagline. Just be cool, and I
just
like
be
that.
Cool.
Yeah, great. Well, on that note, just be cool. We'll wrap it up there, but I'm not going to wrap it up totally because I'm gonna knock it off now and say goodbye to you, and I'm gonna bring you back. And for the members only on Tokyo Reel, I'd like to ask you some success secrets, if that's okay. So for the moment, Scott.
Sure thing.
Yeah, Scott, thanks so much for being on the program. It's been a pleasure talking to you. I love what you do, and I think it's incredibly valuable. So keep pushing away at it, and we'll help you in any way we can. And come back and speak to us again in the future sometime. Let us know how you're going.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ian. Really appreciate it. So thanks for having me on the show. And thanks to anyone listening. And yeah, whenever you can, focus on your breathing and just be cool.
Okay, just be cool. Have a nice day in Raglan. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you, Ian.